about in the booth? Are we, volume-wise, are we good? I'm looking for anybody attached to technology.
There you go.
Cameraman in the outside, you can't hear, you don't have your headphones. Okay. Steve Palermo in the back, are we good volume-wise? Okay, so today is Wednesday, May 13th. It is now, we'll say 6:06 p.m., and this is our public hearing on the school budget for the FY 26-27 school year. All right, and I apologize because we're working on making sure that our technology is good. Yes or no? You can hear me back there? Fantastic. Mr. Kim, you have no idea because you're also not wearing headphones? No. Okay. But you can hear me, yeah, thank you. All right, that doesn't really help me a lot. All right, so our first order of business is a Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Mayor, will you please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we really only have one thing on our agenda this evening, and that's the presentation, well, I guess two things. The presentation from the superintendent of schools and then public comment. As you all see, there's a microphone in the walkway. There's also a sign-up sheet. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. We will have somebody on a timer. Once Dr. Cushing finishes his presentation, then we will begin taking speakers at the podium. For everybody up here on the table, your mics are live. That should make some fun conversations, or alternatively, no conversations. Ms. Cool, I'm finished with that. Thank you very much. Dr. Cushing, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Visnick. Thank you, members of the school committee, and thank you, everybody, for joining us here this evening. So at our annual budget hearing, I'll be reviewing many of the slides that people have seen previously, but also some updates for the group that we'll go through momentarily. So the critical and essential question for the Beverly Public Schools is, how do we maintain and improve upon instructional practices and comprehensive student support while operating within physical limits? The budget priorities that I will review here for this hearing is to provide robust and diversified student learning opportunities, provide comprehensive student supports in a least restrictive environment. Priority 3, long-range strategic planning and prioritization to support student belonging, engagement, and learning. And then priority 4, enhanced communication with stakeholders. Some budget drivers, just to quickly review, our contractual obligations to our bargaining units, our enrollment numbers, student needs, special education increases, inflation, which I know many families are facing right now, and the rising costs of goods and services, and the availability of budget offsets. Previously, you've seen me present 3 separate budgets. Tonight, I'm going to focus on the recommended budget and request based on where we are at this day and time. And that represents a 5.27% increase over last year's appropriated budget. So here you can see the pie chart breakdown, which as in most school districts, all school districts, we are a human resource intense organization with teachers, leaders, and other support staff providing critical resources to our students. You can also see how the budget is broken down by various cost centers and their munis abbreviation. So right now, our balanced budget summary. Last year, we had a total of 823.06 budgeted FTEs. And this year, at this point in time, we're coming in with 824.6 FTEs for a 1 increase. And at the last meeting, I discussed that we would be short 2 FTEs, but some enrollment shifts in the last few weeks have raised some concerns in a few areas across the district for us to address. Forecasted offsets from grants and revolving funds. So the numbers presented here have been presented several times, but you'll notice that these numbers assume increases to fees associated with transportation, preschool, and athletics. Those fees are critical to this overall budget and are part of the costs built into this presentation this evening. Again, our revolving funds. So just call your attention to these because these are some of the things that we can use to offset the budget. But similar to what you've heard possibly in financial forecasting, there are certain one-time levers. When we pull these levers, they usually are not sustainable for long term, and these need to be accessed sparingly and extremely carefully. Our proposed fees we've discussed frequently, but they are here for all to see. We're looking at approximately a 10% increase for our athletics. Right, we're looking at a modest increase of approximately 10% to our transportation. We are looking for a full day pre-K, 5 days per student for peer students of $2,000, peer student 3 days, $1,200, and peer student 2 days of $800 at our preschool. So our class size guidelines and targets, we've spoken about this previously, but this is also as a refresher. At kindergarten, we look to have 22 students based on the 2005-2006, grades 1 and 2, 25 students per class, grades 3 through 12, 30 students per class. However, we do recognize that smaller class size is desirable, and so we have our targets below. I think I said targets previously. Those are the guidelines. These are the targets. Kindergarten through grade 2, 22 students per class. Grade 3 through 8, 25 students per class. And grade 9 through 12, 25 to 30 students per class. These are the elementary enrollments that are being continually updated. And this is a clearer picture of that. As I mentioned earlier, where there's been a swing of -2 FTEs to +1 FTE, we are going to access resources from school choice to fund 2 elementary school teachers at North Beverly, one in grade, getting to my notes, one in grade 1, one in grade 2, and then at Hannah, one in grade 1. So that is the 3 FTE delta from last meeting to this meeting. We've just seen some enrollment trends shift, and we're pulling a lever a little bit earlier. Normally this might be something that's done midsummer or August, but as we're seeing these trends now, we think it's wise as a team to make sure that we're able to fill those positions as soon as possible. I do want to make sure that the school committee is well aware, as well as the public, that accessing school choice funds in this manner should be seen as a one-time solution, but it does reduce the amount of resources available in school choice for future years. We do have 2 watch classes, and that is, I need to get my contacts redone, grade 2 at Centerville and grade 2 at Hannah, 2 watch classes at this point. Right, so those will be for 2 at North Beverly and 1 at Hannah, represent that change from a -2 FTE to a +1 FTE. Moving forward, you can see here the justification for elementary school reductions and critical needs. Also in here would really be considered our enrollment piece. And you can see where we're still minusing, and if you go back to the previous slide, you'll be able to see the justification for that. But we're still reducing teachers at Hannah, Centerville, and Cove, while increasing at Hannah, North Beverly, and North Beverly. Reducing our fellows, which is slightly problematic simply because those are usually good future teachers for the Beverly Public Schools. Also reducing the instructional coaches, and a full-time City Connects position between the Hannah and Ayers Elementary School. We are adding a special education teacher to the Ayers-Ryleside School, and we are moving between Centerville and Hannah, from Centerville to Hannah, a special education school teacher. And we are also increasing a paraprofessional position, adding a paraprofessional position to Centerville for the SSP program. Beverly Middle School's enrollments have been shown previously. Those have not changed since we last checked the numbers and ran the numbers. So looking at enrollment reductions still at the 5th grade for a 5th grade teacher, a 5th grade team, so 2 5th grade teachers, budget reduction of the middle school registrar, and an increase to address critical needs, an assistant principal for either the 5th or 6th grade. Right now, those duties are being split between one assistant principal for just shy of about 700 students. By adding an assistant principal, it allows us to really look at the middle school structure, move to small learning communities, and run them a little bit differently. High school reductions and critical requests is reducing a science teacher. As you'll see, if I remember correctly on the next slide, that takes class sizes in science from 19 on average to 22. It does not cause any reduction in course offerings or anything in the science program. Also reducing a 0.5 guidance counselor, a 0.5 school adjustment counselor, but we are adding 2 special education teachers to address the needs of the high school and its student population. And here is the justification on that science reduction. All right. And so at the district level, our reductions, which I've discussed previously, those have not changed. Moving away, the bigger ticket items are the moving away from the 2nd grade iPads that has been previously done in kindergarten and 1st grade. So moving forward at 2nd grade, also, I'd like to commit us to really take a look at instructional technology and how it's deployed with our lower students throughout next year, and really start to have those conversations as some school districts are across the country and the world. But we're reducing our advertising, the assistant teacher of the deaf, technology support and integration specialist at 0.6, school committee secretary for taking notes, elementary library position, which was built into this year's budget, curriculum software up to about $100,000. Elementary staff computers, we will still be replacing the elementary staff computers, but we're hoping to be able to access another source of funding for that. And then the 2nd grade iPads that I mentioned, a clerk in special education that is currently unfilled, and anticipated retirement savings of approximately $200,000. What we are committing to, though, is really some of those critical needs that have been mentioned throughout my entry to the district in really supporting special education and the needs of our students. So I had spoken earlier this year about a need for 8 paraprofessionals, and while 8 would be ideal, and there are a lot of other critical needs and critical asks, but what we're trying to do is identify those areas of most need. So across the district, AIM represents all of our autism programs, regardless of their name, in the various schools, but to provide paraprofessional support for those programs as has been identified. So that would be 5 paraprofessionals deployed. In the future, you'll see these under the individual schools, but where they have not been deployed at this time, it seemed best to put them under a district request. So that's the aim. And then also 2 pre-K paras that have already been added to the McEwen preschool or are in the process of being hired and onboarded based on how that school's population fluctuates throughout the year and need. Thank you, and I leave it to the committee for any discussion.
Okay, thank you. I was remiss in saying that District A Representative Miss Jerry Cahill has a conflict, and she will be joining us a little later this evening. So I apologize for not mentioning that earlier. We kept the seat, we're keeping the lights on for her. There's a seat down at the end of the table for her when she gets here. At this point in time, I would like to, Ms. Quill, do you want to, I'll just go get myself. All right, and while we're waiting for the list, I'll just thank everybody who has come this evening, and we have a number of other elected officials. Too much fun here all by ourselves at the school committee. We have a number of staff, school administration as well. So city councilors, my friends, normally I'm in the back row of your meeting. So we have from Ward 6, Mr. Matt St. Hilaire, Ward 1, the Ryle side, take a walk on the Ryle side, Mr. Todd Rotundo. I see Councilor at Large, Mr. Keith Sonia. Ward 2, Danielle Spain. Council President, Ms. Flowers. All right, did I miss anybody? I really almost can't see that far. And my glasses are on the table. All right, school administrators, thanks for coming. Beverly High, thanks for hosting us today. Okay, BevCam, as always, you're thebomb.com. All right, I'm going to try to read, and I'm going to say that we really need to put handwriting back into the curriculum. That's a little joke. Okay, Cindy Tamilio, you're first up. Oh, wait, and hold on one second. Mr. Taylor, will you time for us?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so we're going to ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. And if you hear the timer, I'm just going to ask you to try to finish up. All right, we really don't want to pull the plug or anything.
Mr. Taylor's cell phone sounds like yoga sound.
Okay, we're going to maybe find out what that sounds like. Okay, please.
Okay. All right. Hi, my name is Cindy Tamilio, and I want to thank you all for this opportunity. I live at 18 Hathaway Avenue here in Beverly, and tonight I'm going to be talking about how our kindergarten classrooms, and I'm a kindergarten teacher and have been teaching for over 20 years. Our kindergarten classrooms, they're not being staffed by our paraprofessionals across the district full-time. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about how kindergarten is a very critical transition year for our children's educational journey. And they not only learn foundational skills such as reading, writing, and mathematics, but they are developing social, emotional, behavioral, and executive functioning skills that are necessary for long-term success in schools. We all know that kindergarten has changed over the years. It doesn't look like it did many years ago. It's, certainly not when I first started. There are a lot more challenges that are happening in our classrooms. They're more demanding than ever. And, our students are expected to read and write earlier. They need to demonstrate stronger academic stamina, meet rigorous curriculum standards, and navigate very complex social emotional needs. At the same time, our classrooms, we have students with IEPs, 504s, we have English language learners, we have students with behavioral and emotional needs, and wide developmental differences across the board. And one teacher alone just cannot effectively meet all of these needs. A full-time paraprofessional assigned exclusively to our kindergarten classrooms is not a luxury. It is an essential support that directly impacts student achievement, safety, and teacher effectiveness. Our children are still learning how to follow routines and directions, regulate emotions, use the bathroom independently. I can't tell you how many more students are coming to kindergarten that are not toilet trained. And this is happening every year across the board, which, you know, that's a challenge, a very big challenge in and of itself to help support those students. You know, our teachers and our paras together, we are providing that whole group instruction, the small group interventions, and individualized support simultaneously. And one adult just cannot effectively meet all of these developmental needs. And when they're pulled, and they are pulled, my classroom right now, my para is being pulled for 2.5 hours a day to go to 3 other classrooms to support students. One of my colleagues right next to me only has a para for 2.5 hours. So I'm respectfully recommending that every kindergarten classroom be assigned a full-time paraprofessional, that they remain in their assigned classrooms throughout the instructional day, and that the paras are recognized as essential instructional support staff. And in closing, our youngest learners deserve strong foundations, and kindergarten is much too important to operate without consistent support. Thank you all very much.
All right, next, in case you guys don't remember who you signed up after, I'm going to give 2 names. Next is Dan McGlum, and after that, Jessica Nessel. Okay. We're like right on the line. We maybe need to make our lines bigger for writing names in there. All right, Dan.
Hello. Dan McGloin, 502 Cabot Street. I'm an 8th grade Learning Center teacher at BMS and was both chair of the BTA Special Education Committee. I'm now the chair of the Beverly Education Justice Coalition. My role in these 2 committees have given me a good idea of the problems our educators experience navigating the special education department in BPS, as well as perspective into the parent experience. What is clear to me is that special education educators are stressed, overworked, and confused. Clear and consistent policies aren't readily available to teachers or to parents attempting to navigate the system in support of students. Insufficient staffing based on budgetary constraints has a real effect on student learning and educator effectiveness. Paraprofessionals, as you just heard, are routinely pulled from their cohort of students, which is disruptive and unfair, and are used to substitute for classes. My colleague in the 8th grade told me today that she has subbed 75 times this school year and has been able to fully follow her assigned schedule to fidelity only 22 times. Special education teachers such as myself, who can test and write reports for students, are overworked and routinely miss service delivery because testing and report writing takes hours, often over several days. Parents report feeling confused and frustrated about the lack of communication, especially around breaks and routine, and students in sub-separate programs which are overloaded and unsafe. Teachers in sub-separate programs often aren't able to eat lunch, take a prep, or go to a meeting without fearing that students will be unsafe because there's not enough adults to keep students regulated or have enough coverage for the needs in the room. All of this comes from insufficient staffing and special education teachers having more service delivery than they are able to provide with fidelity. More special educators and paraprofessionals allow students to get more help and support that they are legally required. Please make a budget that cares for our dedicated educators, does right by our families, and fully supports our most vulnerable students. Thank you.
Jessica, before you start, just make a small clarification. We do ask that people state their name and address for the record, and I want to be very clear that I recognize that some people may not want to give their true home address. And so I'm just going to call out, if I believe that you've given an address that is not your home address, I'm just going to say where I believe that is the address of. 502 Cabot Street is in fact, I believe, an address of one of our buildings. And that's fine. I just want to make that clear for the record. Please go ahead.
Okay. My name is Jessica Nessel. I live at 10 Morningside Drive in Beverly. So I'm a member of the Beverly CPAC, a fellow educator, union member in a neighboring district, and the mother of 2 children, one that goes to North Beverly and one that's at McEwen. I'm here tonight because I'm deeply concerned about the district not fully funding our schools, especially special education services. As both a parent and educator, I'm seeing firsthand the growing gap between student needs and the support schools are giving to meet those needs. Tonight, I need to be very clear. Students with disabilities cannot be treated as an afterthought when budgets are being discussed. A free, appropriate public education, or FAPE, is not optional, but it's a legal right protected under federal law, as you all know. But beyond legality, budgets are moral documents. This is something I heard so much during the strike. And Lorinda, I heard you say it too last year. They reflect what a community values, who we choose to prioritize, what we believe our children deserve. The way we fund our schools sends a message about how much we're willing to invest in the well-being, dignity, and future of Beverly's children, including some of our most vulnerable learners. What is especially concerning is that when families raise legitimate concerns, the response from administration is delayed, vague, dismissive, or sometimes non-existent. That lack of responsiveness damages trust and leaves families feeling unheard. I also want to make it clear that families deeply value the support of all the educators here tonight, but they're stretched too thin. Families and educators are not on the opposite sides, but we are aligned. The frustrations families feel are directed at leadership systems that continue to overlook repeated concerns and problems that families and educators are bringing up. The reality is that students need more support, staff needs more support, and schools need more resources. And it's just very clear if you look at the numbers. Beverly continues to spend significantly less per student. According to DESE data, Salem is projected to spend $5,500 more per student than Beverly. Danvers, my district, is projected to spend $1,600 more per student than Beverly. These numbers truly matter because they impact staffing, classroom support, services, education retention. So I strongly urge the school committee and leadership to fully fund our schools, because when families and educators are sounding an alarm, and they're sounding it, it's leadership's job to be paying attention. Our students deserve more than bare minimum compliance that isn't always met. My daughter didn't get to go to inclusion today because there wasn't aid support. It broke her IEP. This stuff is happening. They deserve safe, supported, well-staffed schools where they're able to thrive. And Beverly's budget should reflect that we believe every child in this community is worthy of that investment. Thank you.
Next up is Ellen Sudak, and on deck we have Olivia Wilson.
Hi, my name is Ellen Sudak, and I live at 29 Shortell Ave. This is my real address. I've been a kindergarten para at Ayers for 21 years. 21 years is a long time. Last year I stood here and I talked to you about the job of the paras. I'm here again for the same reason. What's the definition of insanity? Albert Einstein said it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Call me crazy. We all sit around saying that we want the best for our children, but do we? If you actually did, I don't believe that we would keep coming back with the same issues. Let me focus tonight on one issue that other people have also focused on. Pulling paras as substitutes to cover other classrooms. Not every once in a while, every day. Paras at Ayers have been pulled 200 146 times this year alone. And that was as of Monday. So today, it has increased. And that was Monday. Let me explain exactly what that means to our students, the ones that we want the best for. It means I leave my classroom of 20 students for me. Those are 5 and 6-year-olds. But of course, please recognize that this issue is across the board at every level. And I am sent to cover another classroom for one student for however long they need me. It could be an entire day. If a teacher is absent, it could be to cover 2 hours for an IEP meeting, a 504 meeting, it could be to help monitor for MCAS. For whatever reason, the list goes on and on. It means the teacher whose classroom I am now not in must revamp their entire plan for the day, which was based on having me in the room on the fly because I'm not there to do my job. It means I'm not fulfilling the requirements of the IEPs for that day. It means the students I support through small group interventions do not get interventions that day. It means I'm not there to put on a child's orthotics in the morning, so they might not wear them that day. It means I do not go to lunch with the students that day, so some students will not eat because some children will not ask anyone else for help. And I'm not there to open something, open their milk, open their packaging, whatever it is, or to encourage them to eat so they can grow. It means there's less supervision at recess. It means I'm not there at art to tell them that even though their artwork isn't the same as their friends, it is just as beautiful, and I am proud of them. Or at music, to be a student's dance partner when they need a little encouragement to join. I'm not there at STEAM when we're learning about seasons and weather, and to help those students who are still developing their imagination and need help building a pair of flip-flops for a tiny frog. It means I'm not at gym to help my students be okay with not always winning, even when that often looks like tears. Learning to gracefully lose and win requires help from many children. So 20 kids and 1 teacher, in my case, don't have the support we need. The support that we say the children need. And if it were just one day, I wouldn't be standing here speaking to you again and again and again. It is often. For some parents, it is daily. I hope that you hear me tonight. We are pulled away every single day. We sit around and we
Ms. Sudak,
say,
can you
I'll
please
wrap it
finish
up, yeah. We sit around that we say that we want the best, but what we're doing isn't proving that. And you can't say one thing and do another. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Olivia Wilson, 5 Porter Terrace. That is my address. My name's Olivia Wilson, and I have been a special education teacher in the student support program at the middle school for the past 7 years. SSP is our therapeutic program for kids with emotional disabilities, trauma, mental illness, and behavioral needs. I've spoke before about the state of special ed in Beverly and about our programs. I'm disappointed to report that not only has nothing changed, but things have gotten worse. 2 years ago, our program had 4 teachers and 28 students. Last year, we ended with 3 teachers and 27 students, and this year, we are looking at 3 teachers and 35 students. These are some of the highest need students in the district, and to be clear, the level of therapeutic need in this building extends far beyond those 35 students. We typically get between 5 and 10 students added throughout the school year, but next year, with only a few moving schools, we will start the year effectively full. There will be nowhere to put kids who need therapeutic support. This problem does not begin or end with SSP. The district has steadily eliminated programs that help students before they reached crisis points. These cuts were justified as inclusion, but in reality, they have widened academic, behavioral, and social gaps for many students in order to cut staff and save money. When students do not get the support they need, they struggle, then they are assigned to SSP because there are no other options. What hurts the most is that we have been raising these concerns for years. We have had conversations, sent emails, and spoken here. Instead, we have been told there's not enough money, that we need to reshuffle our classes, or that these concerns are perception. At no point has there been a meaningful plan to address what is happening. We are telling you that the current situation is unsafe and unsustainable, not because we are afraid of what might happen, but because of what has happened, what is happening, and what will certainly continue to happen. Please listen to the people working directly with these students. The students most impacted by these cuts are often families least able to advocate within the system. These are families faced with poverty, homelessness, mental illness, and trauma. Their children deserve the same access to support and safety as every other student in Beverly. Why do we continue to wait for students to have police involvement, hospitalizations, or felony charges before they are finally get the appropriate support? Right now, staff members are getting injured, students are getting injured, teachers are taking leave or quitting because the job has become unsustainable. I am scared that we are waiting for something truly tragic to happen. This is preventable. Please listen to us, please involve the teachers, and provide the necessary support for the kids that need it most. Please fund our schools. Thank you.
Next up, we have Lydia Ames, and on deck, Jack McAfee.
Good evening, my name is Lydia Ames and I live at 24 Pearl Street Extension. Tonight I would like to ask the question, why does it feel like we're in an adversarial relationship? The school committee should be the champion of the schools. Doesn't the school committee exist to advocate for, fund, and ensure the success of the public schools? It feels like the barrier to getting the budget we need right now is the school committee. After listening to all the stakeholders, the teachers, the parents, the students who talk about what they need to be successful, how is the response not to hold hands and go to the city, to the community, to say what we need? It's a fallacy to say that we are more efficient, that we better use our budget, that it's not a problem to be well below the state average in funding. Every colleague who has left, and there are many, speak to the difference in working conditions and student learning. Colleagues who went to Danvers, Ipswich, Hamilton Wenham, Peabody, to Lynn, they all say the same things. I can finally teach. I have manageable class sizes. My students have the special education support they need. I have the prep time I need to get my work done in school instead of bringing it all home at the end of the day. There isn't the chaos that existed when I worked at BPS. People tell the truth here. They don't tell me to ignore problems or lie about them. As I've watched colleagues leave, I have to assume that the district is okay with losing awesome, dedicated, and talented teachers because it happens with regularity and in the absence of any attempts to keep these educators or to make the necessary changes. I feel I'm committed to Beverly, and whether people care if I leave or not, the thought crosses my mind regularly. I've talked to many, many educators, including those in this room, who feel at a loss and unsure how much more they can take. The truth is, I love our city and I love our schools. I've invested 20 years of my life in these schools because I believe in our city. But it is devastatingly hard to come to school every day, to teach Spanish, the language, and the many cultures that I love, and to watch students fail. I entered this profession with a dream of bilingual students, but with my class sizes, my lack of support, with 120 individual students, my 45 minutes only of prep time, team meetings that last 20 minutes and never include all stakeholders, an unbargained schedule that doesn't serve students or teachers, and the overburdened special educator on my team with a caseload of 30 plus students who can't help, and the special education plans that are written to exclude world language classes because of lack of coverage. I can't even get close. Let me return to my original point. Why can we not partner together to demand what we need? The City Council has indicated their willingness to listen and discuss thoughtfully the difficult situation we're facing. Also, the city has to come to terms with the deficit. While I understand financial challenges exist, to be honest, I don't feel responsible for coming up with the solutions, and neither should you. If your job is advocacy, then let's do it. It's long past time that Beverly should be saving money off the backs of their children. If other surrounding communities can be at or above the state average, we can too. Mr. Mayor, you promised to try, so what are we going to do about it?
My name is Jacqueline McAfee, 502 Cabot Street. I'm an English teacher at the Beverly Middle School, and I'm at a loss. A loss for a new approach to articulate the problems at our school, a loss for understanding and how a community can be so blind to the need for help at our school. I'm at a loss for new points and personal quips that I haven't already shared at these school committee meetings. I'm at a loss for anything new that my colleagues haven't already mentioned or will mention. And most importantly, I'm at a loss of trust in the administrative roles at our schools who need to advocate the hardest and most passionately for our young members of our community. What I'm not at a loss for, but getting there, is repeating what feels like from the mountaintops at this point, the same alarming concerns, hard truths, and perils that our middle school is facing. I will never be at a loss for addressing inefficiencies or incompetency of roles of non-student facing positions like leadership. I'm not at a loss for questioning and coming from a place of curiosity for how these non-facing roles are evaluated up against this infographic that was presented at the last school committee. Is this the ideal, Dr. Cushing? What are you thinking is happening? Is this, so how did you get this information? Is this what we hope to achieve? Because I'm not seeing this one slide that was presented of these roles. I'm not at a loss and never will be for fighting for what is in the best interest of our students. Every single one. The one that made fun of my shoes the other day, the one that swore at me for making them write their name on their paper, the one that brought me my favorite candy as a gift, the one that blew up my classroom because of a detention that was assigned, the one that finally understood why Elie Wiesel asked so many rhetorical questions in his memoir Night. I will fight indiscriminately for every single child that I teach, encounter, or see at our school, because that's what a committed community member does. They advocate, they support, they demand, they fight for what is right for all. And I'm not at a loss for pointing out there are people that are part of this community in administrative roles that are not here to do that effectively. How do I add anything new to this cry for help and need that is going to make people get it? How do I articulate professionally the unprofessional behaviors that are taking place? How do I prove to you that our school needs more caring, effective, actual student-facing positions? How? What do you need me or us to say to do to get change? And that is not a rhetorical question. It needs an actual answer by those that have the power.
Next, we have Caroline, I apologize, Nader, and Christine Meza on deck.
Hello, my name is Caroline Yada. I live at 16 Congress Street in Beverly. I have been a special ed teacher at Centerville in the SSP program for 12 years. As you've already heard tonight, SSP services some of the district's most vulnerable students. Working in a substantially separate program, my job is about as student-facing as you can get. I want to take a moment to define the term student-facing as it's been used frequently in recent discussions. A student-facing position is any role that has daily direct interaction with students to support their academic, social, or personal development. These are the people on the front lines. This group includes the teachers with class rosters in Aspen, the educators providing special education or intervention services, the adults driving the school buses each day, and the cafeteria workers serving lunch with a smile. It was recently said here that administrative positions are inherently student-facing. I'm not advocating for cuts. Every employee of the Beverly Public Schools works in service of our students. But I do think that conflating student-facing positions as all adults who work in a district is misleading at best. When teachers ask for more support, we're asking for more staff who work daily and directly with students, usually not more administration. We need more special educators and counselors for the high caseloads we have. We need more teachers and paraprofessionals so that those of us in sub-separate programs can actually take a prep, go to a meeting, eat our lunch, or God forbid, use the bathroom without worrying about student safety. And I wish this were hyperbole. And we need more classroom teachers at all levels so that students have class sizes that allow them to reach their potential. A practice that Beverly uses to slash budgets is to cut teachers based on enrollment. That's right, looking up the upcoming group and attempting to squeeze as many students into as few classrooms as possible in order to cut a teacher. Not only is this short-sighted because grade level numbers fluctuate, but it is also devastating to the school culture and community. Students watch their beloved teachers leave and they don't come back. Additionally, shouldn't we see a year with low class sizes as the opportunity that it is? Shouldn't we be attempting to reach class sizes that are low and keep them that way? Every study shows that class size is directly related to student success. The elementary years are critical for students. Why are we trying to save money on these important years instead of fully funding them? Students are not numbers on a slideshow. Educators are not budget line items. It's time we stop treating them as such. I urge you all to reconsider the proposed cuts to the critical student-facing roles. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Christine Meza, and I live at 40 New Ball Street. I am a proud 27-year teaching veteran in the Beverly Public Schools. I am deeply committed to this district, and I am fiercely passionate about my students. But if I'm being honest, I am beyond baffled. It is exhausting to see that the educators who spend every waking second with our children are the very ones whose voices are often missing when these big picture decisions are made. I need to be crystal clear about what a true student-facing position looks like. Now, I do believe that every single interaction a Beverly student has in a day 100% matters, and it is valued. But let's not pretend that those roles are the same as an educator who is in the trenches with the children all day long. We are the ones in the front of those kids every single minute, teaching, supporting, problem solving in real time. We are the adults who can't even find 60 seconds to use the bathroom because our students' needs are relentless. If we are absent, the school day literally stops functioning until a substitute walks through the door. We aren't a luxury or a layer. We are a non-negotiable, essential heartbeat of a learner's day. I want to thank school committee member Karen Robinson for actually getting this, because she is in the classroom and she sees what we see. Our students' needs have shifted drastically. This isn't the same job that I started 27 years ago. Today, our needs for our children our needs for our kids are more in the way of academic, emotional, and social support than ever before. Go ahead, ask any educators at any level, from preschool to the high school, what they actually need. And I guarantee you won't find many teachers screaming for more administrative layers. We need people on the ground. We need student-facing roles. This is why some of these staffing decisions feel so completely disconnected from our reality. At Centerville next year, we are losing 2 vital student-facing roles, a 4th second grade classroom and our 3rd special education teacher. If you aren't in the classroom every day, you might be tempted to call the adding of 5 or 6 students to a room a minor adjustment, but it is not. There is a massive fundamental difference between a class of 17 and a class of 22 plus. Those 5 extra children change everything. It's the difference between a struggling reader getting one-on-one time or potentially falling behind. It can be the difference between managing a social blow-up or watching the whole classroom derail. 5 or more students means fewer minutes for every single child in that room. In one of our second grade classrooms next year, we are looking at a classroom with potentially 11 students on IEPs out of 22 students. The impact of one less second grade classroom teacher and one less special education teacher will no doubt impact our second grade learners with the loss of these 2 student-facing positions. When I see classroom roles being slashed while administrative positions, many of them, which are new arrivals in recent years, I'll be wrapping up soon, I really have to ask, who are we really prioritizing here? We aren't short on administrators, however, we are short on the time, the attention, and the specialized support that only student-facing educators can provide. If we're talking about budget efficiency, let's be real. When the heat is cranking still at Centerville in mid-May, and our library feels like a sauna all school year, I can't help but wonder if there are other places that we could save a buck before sacrificing our teachers. Our students do not need more offices filled with people, they need more adults in their classrooms who know their names, their specific needs, and the little things they need, like the child who needs a high five to start their morning or maybe a hug, or who needs an extra minute of patience after a rough night at home or a hungry belly. We know who they are and we know what they need to succeed. And after 27 years in this district, I can tell you clearly that there is absolutely no substitute for that.
Next up, Denise Leiden and Mr. Willenbrock, you're on deck.
Hi, I'm Denise Leiden. I'm a middle school reading specialist here at grades 7 and 8. And I'm actually here, and I live at 701 Broughton Drive as of September of last fall. I'm actually here to speak on behalf of our wonderful former colleague, Alex Wasnick. She's a retired Beverly Middle School librarian and resident of 5 Hawthorne Street here in Beverly. So this is her. I was so pleased and relieved to hear that a librarian has been hired for Beverly Middle School and will soon be in place. It was my great pleasure and privilege to be a middle school librarian in Beverly for 20 years. School librarians make a difference. I am also happy to note that the middle school library media specialist position remains in the FY27 budget. We all want our kids to put down the devices and read more. A librarian can help lead students to the right book at the right time. When kids do use digital devices, we want them to engage in a thoughtful way. Librarians are there to help students develop strong critical thinking skills when using information online. The library itself is a safe, welcoming environment for all students, including some who may feel neither safe nor welcomed anywhere. Both the space and the professional running of it need to be available and accessible to all of our students. The BMS Media Specialist position has been misrepresented in the budget as one full-time position for several years. Due to being made to teach at least one and sometimes 2 global apps classes with no additional compensation. Some issues or consequences of this arrangement are classes have inequitable access to the library, particularly the 7th and 8th graders who need it the most. Drop-in students who are more likely not to get help when they need it. Materials are more likely to disappear from the library. It is difficult for the librarian to schedule times to meet with teachers on a collaborative work. Many fewer students get digital and media literacy skills from the librarian. BMS students stand to lose access to the valuable statewide databases and the MLS Commonwealth ebook collection that gives kids access to thousands of ebooks and audiobooks in many languages. It is very time-consuming to create a customized curriculum for GAs, spending close to 2 hours a day to prep for those and teach this class takes time away from the work that could teach many more students. There is only one librarian in the school. For the district to get a maximum value, their unique qualifications should be used to their greatest extent. By actively engaging the librarian and better understanding their skills and knowledge, by giving the librarian time and access to teachers and leaders planning and implementing curriculum, the district can get far more value out of the librarians they employ. I ask that if the BMS librarian's media specialist is to stay in the budget as one FTE, to either allow the person in the position to voluntarily teach no more than 1 extra class and compensate them accordingly, or protect the position of the librarian and allow this person in this role to do it full-time. Serving 1,400 students and more than 150 staff members as a solo librarian in a school is more than enough to fill the day and some of the evening. Thank you for your consideration and for your service to the students of Beverly. Alex Wasdick, former BMS librarian.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Dr. Cushing. Thank you for this opportunity for us to speak. My name is I shouldn't say Mr. Brad Willenbrock. I am reside at 5 Clifford Ave in Beverly. And I'm really fortunate to be here as a listener today. And I'm really happy to see how in tune you all are to listening. But more importantly, the next step is action. And the next step is taking this information that you're hearing, this passion, this love for our students and for our communities and for our schools, and seeing what we can do. I'm calling for tenacity. I'm not calling for us to be, irresponsible. I'm very aware of the economic situation that we're in as a nation. This is a time for tenacity. I have 2 children in our district. One is a 6th grader, Elia, and we have received recently the form to say, which foreign language would you like to choose in 7th grade? And with much enthusiasm, she said German. She knew that I took German at Beverly Public Schools way back when, right, Matt? Way back when. And she was ready to follow her dad in that way, and that made me really happy. However, I told her that in this situation, we are not able to offer German in Beverly. And then she got really excited about Spanish because she got to go to Puerto Rico. So that should be able to work out. But the fact that we're not able to provide this excitement and fulfill this excitement in this child is disappointing. But that's a very low-level concern of mine. My larger concern is the need that we have for our marginalized students. The growth that we need in this area is significant, and this is the truest concern. I implore you to try to be advocates for them and to be advocates for students who need the attention that are not getting it. Because I would imagine our city councilors would agree that a pillar of a strong community is public education. Not education that is just trying to meet a superficial level of service, but one is genuinely meeting the needs of our students. So you are our advocates. We voted for you. We voted for you. You are our advocates to bring to this community the needs that our students have, the support for those needs, so that our community can be the strongest on the North Shore and in this state. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Alyssa Crimmins, I believe, and on deck, Jenna Dwyer.
Good evening. Thank you to everyone who is listening to us tonight. I appreciate everyone here because this topic it's not just important, it is essential. We are drowning. Our students are drowning, the schools are drowning. I'm at One Brick Circle, just so you know. And I'm here tonight because this district failed my daughter, failed our family, and I can't believe that I had to pull my daughter from this district that I wanted her to stay in, move to another district who saw my daughter for who she is, gave her the right intervention. She was reading 2 grade levels below. In 1 year, not even 1 year, she's at grade level. in math and in ELA in 1 year. How can one district see my daughter, give her the intervention, and in Beverly not see my daughter? How is it that different? I stand before you because I will not let that happen to any other parent, any other family in this city. We must do better. I'm an occupational school-based OT. I run MTSS at the school that I work at. I am on the Beverly CPAC. I have been trying to work as a partner. And it's been 8 months. My daughter's gonna be okay. My daughter's okay. Not everybody else is. We are not following federal and state laws. We are completely out of compliance. There is a laundry list that I could do, but I'm not gonna do it tonight. The main thing that you guys have to understand, we are out of compliance in many areas. We need to support this district. We need money. I understand we need money. I will be fighting for people to get an override if we can actually make that money go to the places that it needs to go. Not, it's a sad state of affairs when the hot topic in Beverly right now is trash. It's a sad state of affairs when our students are not the #1 priority, and I will not stop fighting and advocating with the people behind me. I will not stop partnering with the people before me to make this city the students and the schools that we know they deserve.
Hello. Hi, I'm Jana Dwyer, and my professional home has been 502 Cabot Street for the last 8 years. Last year, I came to a May School Committee meeting and delivered data about how shockingly out of compliance Beverly Middle School was during the 24-25 school year due to paraprofessionals being taken away from their assigned students and scheduled to substitute teach for general education teachers. Between the first day of school and May 22nd last year, paras subbed for gen ed teachers a total of 790 times for the entire day. Special education teachers across the building had no substitute, and therefore students did not get specialized instruction on a cumulative total of 156 days last year, and there was no substitute for an absent para on 386 cumulative days, and that of course doesn't include the 790 times present paras were the subs. The good news is that this year the numbers are improved. The bad news is that the middle school is still out of compliance on a daily basis with special education services due to staffing shortages and lack of substitutes. From the first day of school until May 12th, yesterday, there have been 362 times this year that a para subbed for a general education or special education teacher for the full day, leaving their own role vacant and their own students without support. On 64 occasions, there was no substitute for a special education teacher for an entire day, and on 194 occasions, there was no substitute for a paraprofessional for the full school day. Teachers need to be able to take their contractually earned paid time off, and the fix cannot be condemning educators for getting sick or having a life outside of work. Most of our learning center special education teachers have a caseload of 17 to 20 students. Many paraprofessionals work across 2 teams or grades. When a paraprofessional is pulled from their role to substitute teach, that means more than 35 students are not getting their legally owed services over the course of the day. I understand that when a special education teacher is out, a sub likely does not have a special educator's license, but I believe that students and general education teachers would agree that having a second adult in the room to support in the absence of a special educator is much better than not having someone there at all. Additionally, all of the data that I previously cited from the last 2 school years does not even include the times that special ed teachers were pulled to sub for full or partial days, or when paras were pulled to sub
for a partial day, or when special education teachers or paras were out of the building for part of the day without any coverage. And all of that data I have calculated if anyone is interested. When our special education students do not have the support they need, I will wrap up, it hurts everyone in the school. Students who need support cannot access the curriculum. General education teachers get increasingly burnt out trying to teach their classes and support the students on IEPs simultaneously. Students without IEPs don't get the support or instruction they're used to because their teacher is trying to be everything to everyone. When kids don't feel successful in the classroom, behaviors increase, taxing our counselors and sometimes preventing them from being able to provide their scheduled sessions, causing more compliance issues and causing more students to not get what they need. My ask is that the city pass a budget that allows for our schools to have enough staff so that our most marginalized students have the support they require, again, are owed under the law. If you have been told that the district is fully in compliance, that is wrong. Please do what you were elected to do. Please keep your promise to try and work to fix it. Thank you.
Next up on the list is Steph Andrews and then Cassie Broughton.
Hi, I'm Steph Andrews. I'm not going to give my actual residence, so I'll say 78 Water Street, the BTA office. What is happening in this district right now is unsustainable, and our students and educators are paying the price. Right now, 24 teachers at the high school are teaching an extra class because this district has not adequately staffed our schools. 24. That is not a small problem. That's a system-wide crisis. With 24 teachers picking up an extra class, the district is saving on almost 5 full-time positions. A typical class load is 5 per teacher. There is a reason 5 is full course load, or class load. That is the equivalent of 125 to 150 students per teacher. If you add the 6th class, that becomes 180. Educators are sacrificing their time, energy, and health to keep things running. At the same time, this district continues to cut student-facing positions. Every counselor cut means less support for students, and every teacher cut signals that the understaffing issues we've brought to administration throughout the year will be ignored. Either way, this results in more pressure pushed onto educators. We are watching the district balance its budget on our labor and on student needs. The schedule at the high school has made this problem even worse. Teachers now have less prep time and more classes per day. For teachers covering an extra class due to inadequate staffing, that means more students, more grading, more lesson planning, more emotional labor, and less time to do any of it well. You cannot keep increasing the workload while cutting the time needed to do the work. That is not efficiency, that is burnout. When teachers burn out, students lose. They lose individualized attention, they lose feedback, they lose consistency, they lose experienced educators who simply cannot sustain under these conditions forever. Our schools should not depend on educators sacrificing their well-being just to make it through the year. The people in this room need to understand this is not an inconvenience. This is a choice to cut positions, a choice to increase class sizes, a choice to decrease class options such as German, a choice to pile more work on educators and hope they'll absorb that damage quietly. We are telling you clearly tonight we cannot continue like this. Restore the cut positions at the high school, adequately staff our schools, stop balancing the budgets on the backs of our teachers and students. Because the people holding this district together right now are burning out, and our students deserve better than a system built on exhaustion.
Hi, Cassie Broughton. I'm also using 78 Water Street, which is the BTA office. Good evening. My name is Cassie Broughton, and I am a chemistry teacher in the Beverly Public Schools. I have been teaching for 12 years, 7 of those here in Beverly. I'm here tonight because we are making cuts that directly affect students while maintaining positions that are not student-facing. With our STEM director retiring, we have an opportunity to rethink priorities. Keeping a teacher in the classroom or preserving a counseling position directly impacts students every single day. When I started at Beverly High School, there was no curriculum director. I built a full chemistry program from the ground up. The curriculum documents I later created are now used as a guide for the new chemistry teachers entering the department. I have been instructed to share my materials, but when asked for materials myself, the support has often been limited. The reality is that our chemistry program depends heavily on the materials that I have developed. When the administration decided to adopt new textbooks, many teachers voiced that textbooks are not central to instruction because most students learn with other forms of media. Yet significant time and money were spent purchasing textbooks that are rarely accessed by students. Those resources could have been invested in ways that more directly impact student learning. I share this because our chemistry program currently runs on the dedication of teachers, not the effectiveness of administrative spending. Which brings me to my final point, class size and student safety in the lab. At previous meetings and tonight, it was stated that science class sizes average 19 students and that would increase to 22. That is not the reality in chemistry. Over the past 7 years at BHS, I have taught 35 general education classes. Only 4 of those had fewer than 19 students. Many were well above that, including 5 classes with 27 and 1 with 28. This year, my class average is 22 students. If we add 3 more students per class, that brings us to 25. In a chemistry lab, that is not just a number or a budget adjustment, it is a safety concern. When you add fire, chemicals, and glass to an overcrowded room, the margin for error disappears. Our lab stations are designed for a maximum of 24 students. Increasing beyond that creates conditions that are harder to manage and less safe for students. I ask that you reconsider where we are allocating resources and prioritize decisions that directly impact students and classroom safety. If safety and student learning are the priority, then our decisions need to reflect that.
Next up, we have Chris Melanson and Lisa Mooney.
All right, a little new here. Hello everyone, Chris Melanson, 24 West Dane Street. I just started a poetry unit in class. My students are not fond of it quite yet, but I tried to tell them that poetry is powerful and that poetry has the potential to make a lot of change and impact. So, with that, I made a poem tonight. So here we go. Microphone up. Here we go. All right. The poem is titled, I Wish. I wish I didn't have to stand here tonight and begin with the words I wish. I wish our school didn't resemble the Swiss, not the country that ranks near the top, not excellence, not precision, not innovation. I mean the cheese, the holes, the gaps, the missing pieces everybody keeps trying to stretch around while pretending the structure still holds. And the scary part about Swiss cheese is this: if you ignore the holes long enough, eventually mold starts growing in the places nobody wanted to look at in the first place. I wish we didn't normalize holes. Holes in staffing, holes in intervention, holes in mental health support, holes in communication, holes in classrooms where one teacher is somehow expected to hold together 25 stories, 25 needs, 25 futures with tape, determination, and caffeine. I wish the middle school was given more care, more support, more belief. I wish every child who walked through our doors felt, without question, that this city sees them as worth investing in. Because schools are not spreadsheets, they are not line items, they are not percentages on a slide presentation. A school is a 6th grader finally reading aloud after years of hiding. A school is the student who says nothing all day long until one trusted adult quietly asks, "Are you okay?" And sometimes the answer to that question changes everything. A school is the kid who only eats 2 meals a day because their breakfast and lunch are waiting for them there. That's what a school is. I wish people could see what schools really feel like right now. Teachers stretching pencils, stretching copy paper, stretching time, stretching energy, stretching staff, stretching ourselves so thin that some days we forget what breathing during the school day even feels like. And we are thin. Even district leadership has said it publicly. Thin support, thin staffing, thin systems, thin margins for error. And eventually, when things get thin enough, they rip. Because if we continue stretching everything this thin, Eventually, there is nothing left to stretch. Human beings can only split themselves so many ways before pieces of them disappear too. I have missed hours of classroom teaching, sitting in meetings about how to best support students. I wish I actually had more time to teach. I wish we had enough adult bodies at BMS to create systems that actually worked consistently, not programs that sound nice in presentations, not binders, not acronyms, real systems. Academic systems, behavior systems, mental health systems. Systems that people actually have enough time and manpower to implement with fidelity. I wish there were more honesty in public conversations about what schools are truly facing, because teachers know, parents know, and kids absolutely know. Kids always know. And still we show up. Still teachers spend their own money on supplies. Still they create projects and experiences and moments of joy. Still they stay after school. Still they answer emails at night. Still they care deeply about children in a system that sometimes feels like it is surviving on fumes. That's the part people miss. This is not educators asking for easier jobs. This is educators asking how much longer people expect schools to survive on sacrifice alone. And maybe my biggest wish tonight, I wish students never had to hear adults talk about their education as if it were negotiable. I wish.
Sorry, I don't have a song or a poem for you tonight. My name's Lisa Mooney. I'm using the 78 Water Street address. I am a district school nurse. I've been a school nurse for 27 years. I've been here at Beverly for 4. My comments tonight are twofold. My first comments are regarding nursing and how we are often in non-compliance with the state regulations, because what's happening is when we have a nurse that's absent, or we have numerous field trips going out and we need to pull nurses, we're often pulling a nurse from the high school, from the middle school. The high school leaves the nurse, one nurse, for almost 1,200 students. And the state law is that you're supposed to have one nurse for every 500 students. So I wanted to make that point to you so that you're all aware. If you're not in nursing, you probably wouldn't know that. So I also feel that because the population here in Beverly has increased, the student population, at least in the statistics that I looked at. I could be wrong, but they have increased. I estimated somewhere between 700, 750 students over the last 4 years. I think that's due to the increased housing here in the district. And if you're going to have increased housing, you're going to have increased students. You're going to have more students in the schools, which common sense-wise means that you need to have more staff in the schools to service the students. That's just common sense. So with that being said, I want to roll into my second comment, and I think it's a common theme tonight regarding our paraprofessionals. I see the safety issues. I see staff being hurt. I see students being hurt. I have to take care of them when they come to me. I can tell you, for instance, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I had a para come in. She was hit in the face by another student in one of the AIM classrooms. She now has her nose broke. She lost a tooth. She needs to have surgery. I had another para who had her nose broke. I had another para who had a table flipped over when the student escalated and her foot got crushed. She needed to have surgery. These are things, on a daily basis, honestly, I have paras come into me every day. And whether it's they were bit or they were scratched, and I don't want to hear that, well, if they were doing their job right, that wouldn't have happened. That is not the case. They are working as hard as they can. I admire them. I tell them all the time that you are my eyes and ears, because they know these students better than I do, because they are with them all the time. But when you take these paras out of the classroom, and you put someone else in there that doesn't know these students, it doesn't work. And then people are getting hurt. Also, as far as staffing, I think the burnout rate is high. One of my in classrooms, we had a teacher that just couldn't do it anymore. She asked for help, asked for help, asked for help. She couldn't teach the class. She was working more as a para with a one-on-one. She ended up leaving. And then we didn't have a teacher in the classroom for almost 3 months. So it was just paraprofessionals in there. And they were doing the best they could. I don't want to hear that, oh, we have our support systems in there, our BCBAs and all of this. Well, our BCBAs are so stretched out, they have 50 to 70 cases. They're not in there all the time. I depend, me as a nurse, I depend on our paras. They come to me, I look to them to tell me, is this student nonverbal? Is this student autistic? Because unfortunately, in this district, not all the health issues are related to the nursing staff. We don't know. They're not in the health record. It's not shared with us. So oftentimes, I look to the paras to help us take care of these students. So it is so critically important that we staff these classrooms with the paras that are needed, because I'll tell you, students are getting hurt, and I don't want to look down a legal avenue from parents because their child is repeatedly getting hurt in class, and I would like to try and avoid that. So I went into one classroom just today.
Miss
And
Ms.
I
Miller, can you please finish up?
Yes, I went into one classroom today. I said, how's everything going? And their comment is, we're not thriving, but we're surviving. So, there you have it. Thank you.
Committee members, I am going to call to order our committee of the whole, and then it's 7:30, and I'm going to ask for a motion that we recess that meeting until
There are how many people signed up? 5 more?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more.
750.
All right, 7:50, there we go, and recess it until 7:50, and then we'll go back into the public comment, and then at 7:50, we'll go back into our meeting.
I'll second your motion.
Thank you. Does everybody on the committee understand what I'm asking? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, next on our list is William English and Laura Newton, you're on deck. Okay, I'm sorry. So we have another meeting posted for 7:30, and so from a regulation point of view, we need to open that meeting, but we set it aside. We opened it so we can dot our i's and cross our t's, and we set it aside so we can keep going with this, and we gave an estimate of when we think we'll be through the speakers, so that the rest of the speakers can in fact speak.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for being here. It's very important to democracy. Will English, Garfield Ave, Beverly, Ryle Side. Woohoo! We're so glad to be here on a Wednesday night. I'm sure everyone is fired up. I'm an heiress parent of a 3rd grader. Thanks, Ms. Shimataro, Mrs. Campbell, Mrs. Enos, Ms. Henneberry, Mr. B, and Mrs. Ramos. Evan loves you all so much. I'm also one of 3 original counselors at BMS. The nature of our jobs has led to significant attrition over the years. It's a beautiful building that always turns heads, but it's the people that make it a community. Tonight I'm here to speak of the best value in our district, our $43,000 a year pre-tax registrar, Heather Murphy. With over 1,400 students, BMS is already at a huge secretarial disadvantage, with 4 secretaries, compared to, for example, BHS with 7. The removal of this position will tax an already strained main office. Moreover, with a growing and transient population, BMS often sees high-need students appearing at all months of the year. As of today, we've had 102 registrations and 90 withdrawals. Our registrar is the person who onboards and lines up important services for these families, such as English language learning, special ed, and counseling. Onboarding is both important and time-consuming job. My fear is, with the loss of this position, onboarding will fall to counseling, which is already extremely strained. I would also be remiss as a highly trained threat assessment clinician to not include the importance of onboarding to school safety. There are numerous incidents in Massachusetts of violence caused by students who arrived without proper onboarding. Moreover, our registrar, Heather Murphy, is an essential peer support specialist, someone who students, families, and staff rely on for support. Heather is a unique talent who might not be a licensed counselor, but people gravitate towards anyway. Her loss would really amount to our 3rd counseling loss in 3 years. $43,000 is not a lot of money. Why are we cutting such a bargain basement position without looking at higher paid positions? At a time when marginalized communities are under attack throughout this country, let's not remove student-facing positions. Thank you.
Good evening. Laura Newton, 23 Jewett Road, SLP at Centerville, proud member of BTA, District Director, 24F MTA. At 24 years old, I managed a 9-figure budget for the moderate sportswear division of a 96-location department store chain. I was responsible for more capital than this district's entire budget. I know the difference between responsible financial management and a manufactured crisis used to avoid accountability. I left that career to become an SLP because it is my passion. After 5 years in Beverly Public Schools, it has become my obligation to hold this district accountable for the harm it is causing. This administration is presenting cuts to student-facing staff as unavoidable, while the city sits on roughly $33 million between reserve funds and projected free cash, nearly 19% of the municipal budget and nearly 4 times recommended levels. Reserve funds are to stabilize a community, not justify starving it. And for more than a decade, Beverly has carried excessive free cash reserves far beyond what financial experts recommend for a city this size. Free cash is taxpayer revenue collected but not reinvested back into the community. In other words, Beverly residents are already paying for stronger schools and public infrastructure. The city is choosing not to spend that money on the people and institutions that generated it. That is not fiscal responsibility. It is manufactured scarcity at the expense of children. Underinvesting in schools and infrastructure weakens a city, and it leaves it less prepared for future hardship, not more. Hoarding public resources while educational services deteriorate is not prudent financial management. I am deeply troubled that Dr. Cushing is not demanding these funds as non-negotiable. Your failure to do so is an abandonment of fiduciary responsibility. Meanwhile, students are already paying the price. This year alone, 206 mandated service sessions were missed while I was in the building performing another legally required part of my job because meeting time is not built into our schedules. The district's solution is to demand impossible makeup services on top of already overloaded cases. Next year, my caseload is projected to increase by at least 6 students, not including 6 initial evaluations to be completed this year. And the staffing number used to justify robbing my school's students of a special education teacher is falsely deflated by double digits. Without additional staffing, compliance is mathematically impossible. I am very aware that when I speak the truth, it makes a very small minority in this room uncomfortable. I can live with that. What I cannot accept is watching this district deny students the services they are legally and morally owed. I'm almost finished. I exercised more fiduciary responsibility over polyester separates 25 years ago than this district is currently exercising over the more than 4,500 students it is responsible for serving. Briefly in closing, to the Beverly community, I love our children and I will keep fighting for what they are legally and morally owed. To my union siblings, do not be intimidated. We are stronger together. And to this administration, school committee, and our city government, we remain committed to collaboration when you are ready to fulfill your professional, ethical, and legal obligations. However, we will stop at nothing to hold you accountable.
Next, we have Bruce Nelson, then Christina Vanderslice, and in the hole, batting cleanup, Andrea Sherman.
My name is Bruce Nelson. I reside at 195 Hale Street. I am a 7th grade English teacher at Beverly Middle School. But tonight I am here to speak on behalf of one of my union siblings from North Beverly, Lauren Lorazano. So she wrote this message. Dear school committee members, I am writing on behalf of the sub-separate special education classes in this district to demand immediate accountability. I have dedicated nearly 15 years to this field, 5 of them in Beverly. I love my students, but I refuse to let my dedication be exploited to mask the systemic failure of this administration. This district's dysfunction hit me personally when a payroll error forced me to cut my maternity leave short. Returning to the classroom, I found an environment that is not just unsupported, but actively unsafe. Student behaviors are escalating to dangerous levels, and staff burnout is at an unprecedented high. Let me be perfectly clear. This crisis is the direct result of your failure to provide adequate staffing, basic classroom resources, and actionable administrative support. It is insulting to hear the excuses that there are no quick fixes while our classrooms deteriorate daily. Our most vulnerable students do not have the luxury of waiting for your gradual timelines. They deserve immediate protection and resources. Educators are breaking themselves physically, emotionally, and financially to hold these classrooms together, while the district offers nothing but empty validation and zero tools. This is no longer a situation that can be managed. It is an emergency that you have allowed to happen. I ask that the school committee recognize this crisis and take immediate, concrete action to fund and staff our special education programs. We do not need more passive leadership. We need immediate compliance with the standards our students deserve. Sincerely, Lauren Lorenzano.
Good evening, Christina Vanderslice, 78 Water Street for the record. I teach 8th grade civics at Beverly Middle School. This budget proposes eliminating a 5th grade team of BMS, reducing direct student support during one of our most significant transitions in a child's education. At such a critical point, why are we reducing supports instead of investing additional resources to help make that transition as successful and seamless as possible? An earlier draft of this budget also included a global applications teacher position, which has since been cut. GA classes are the largest classes in the building. Currently, during a single morning GA block, nearly 150 students are scheduled to be in the gym area. I struggle to understand how that level of concentration in a single area is considered acceptable for this district. At the same time, this budget continues to prioritize administrative positions, adding a 4th assistant principal and retaining curriculum directors. These director positions were posted over Memorial Day weekend 2023, posted on a Friday, and filled by Monday. I know colleagues who applied and were never given the opportunity to interview. To this day, I still have questions about how $400,000 of funding for additional administrative positions materialized within a single fiscal year. But I'm not here tonight to debate hiring practices. I'm here to talk about the impact on our students. I acknowledge Dr. Cushing's justification of the curriculum director's roles, yet I continue to have questions about how these roles actually function in practice within the building. Currently, the Global App course, Digital Literacy and Authorship, is being held in my classroom. For 7 weeks, students have had no instruction and rarely a consistent substitute teacher. I have had to cover the class myself because no other coverage was available. Another STEM class has faced a similar situation for more than a month. Moments like these seem like the exact situations where curriculum directors could step in to provide model lessons, curriculum support, and continuity for students. Instead, these classes have effectively become gaps in student schedules. I asked the committee, how does this improve teaching, learning, and equity for students? And how can these administrative positions be described as student-facing when multiple classes are operating without consistent instruction or curriculum support? In my civics department, we seek out professional development, facilitate content meetings, create pacing guides, and develop high-quality instructional materials. All responsibilities Dr. Cushing identified as curriculum director duties. We've done that work ourselves without the help of a curriculum director, and we will continue to do so because we care deeply about our students and our professional practice. Cutting teaching positions while simultaneously expanding administrative roles not only negatively affects students, it hurts the morale of the district. I'll leave you with this. Using the superintendent's own budget language, the critical needs in Beverly, ones that are, quote, necessary and sustainable, unquote, are teachers in the classroom, not administrators behind desks. Thank you.
Hi, so I put my name on, I tried to put it before Andrea's so she could properly clean up. Is that
Go
right?
right ahead, young man.
Appreciate it, thank you. Hi, I'm Casey Fiore, 78 Water Street. I teach 8th grade civics at BMS. I'm also the BTA's representative on the Curriculum, Instruction, and Student Life Subcommittee. As we look over a budget that is set to lock us into another year of damaging cuts, substandard resources, and confusing allocations of funds that don't align with the needs of our schools as we experience them on a daily basis, I want to reflect a little on the role CISL doesn't play in this process and the role it should. When our strike won us a seat on the CISL committee a year and a half ago, a lot of Beverly educators were excited about the idea that the school committee would finally have a teacher voice to bring things back to reality. When I was appointed to the committee, I was excited about the opportunity to speak on behalf of my colleagues. It didn't take long before I learned that wasn't really what I'd be allowed to do. I've tried for the last year and a half to be collaborative and suggest new ways of approaching things, important topics of discussion, and changes to format in a polite and respectful way behind the scenes, and it hasn't gotten me very far. It is clear to me now that the BTA was granted a seat in the CISL committee because it was the spot that someone like me would be least likely to say anything that might make anyone uncomfortable. I think it's time we change that. When the CISL committee provides a few of my hardworking colleagues and a few of this district's amazing students a forum to demonstrate their amazing work, I am sincerely honored to have a front row seat to witness their achievements. But the truth is that what is shown to you at CISL meetings is a carefully curated and very small slice of the whole BPS pie. And what is left out of the conversation is all of the things that actually require your attention and oversight, the things that need fixing and changing. The CISL committee ought to be your window into daily life in our schools, but the entire format of the committee's meetings seem to be designed to restrict your understanding and limit your input. How can you be expected to ask meaningful questions or offer constructive advice in the 7 minutes left over at the end of the meeting after a 50-minute presentation? How can you be expected to form meaningful questions in your minds when you're trying to process so much new information all at once? In congressional hearings, all presentation materials are provided 24 to 48 hours in advance.
You are surprised with information and given time only to react, not to reflect. We don't have real conversations about what happens in the schools here in Beverly. We have real conversations about the budget, about what we can't afford and why we can't have nice things. But we don't have a serious conversation about the impacts of those cuts. A couple times a year, dozens of my brave colleagues turn out for these meetings to tear off Band-Aids and expose wounds for the whole city to see. They shouldn't have to do this. But most of the time, we don't face our problems. We paper over them. We put on a smile, and we talk about how our test scores indicate that we're doing fine, actually, and that means that we are an efficiently run district. From the inside, I can tell you with absolute certainty that what efficiency means is every year the shrinking budget makes life harder and harder for us, and we still just keep coming back and busting our asses to give kids of Beverly the best education we can, which, because of the cuts, is not as good as the education they deserve. I'll finish up soon. We are being squeezed for everything we are worth, and we won't give up, but it is really weighing on a lot of us. I'm asking you to reconsider the way CISL operates and what role it could play in informing your understanding of what is really needed within our schools. If you want CISL to just be a public relations tool that provides a space for kind of show and tell, don't touch it, it's doing fine. If you want to learn more about what we're doing to provide a good education for the kids of Beverly and to help you make informed decisions about how to allocate funds in our schools, I ask that you please demand more and better from that subcommittee. Personally, I have to reconsider what my place is in all of this. I want nothing more than to give voice to the experience of my colleagues and to advocate for our students and make Beverly schools the best they can be. But if we're going to continue using CISL as BevCam's monthly BPS propaganda hour, I don't think I want to be a party to that anymore. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to hold you for a second, please. I'm going to make a motion that I'm going to put us back in order. I'm going to put us back in session. It's 7:50. I'm going to make a motion that we recess until 8 o'clock.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? We'll go back at 8, please. Go ahead, yes.
Thank you. My name is Andrea Sherman. I'm the president of the Beverly Teachers Association at 78 Water Street. And I'm proud to stand here and represent my union siblings. I have been told on more than one occasion by more than one administrator that we, meaning Beverly Schools, need to work on our image. Beverly's reputation is on the line. And the truth is, I would love to. But a repaired reputation must come with actual repairs. And just like I teach my students and my children, we don't sacrifice the truth for comfort. And while sometimes it is better to be nice than it is to be right, this is not the time. We started by asking questions quietly. We've held meetings. We've written emails, we've had conversations. Then we got a little louder. We show up to meetings here. I've given the same remarks in this, I guess, venue, not this exact seat, that was at the middle school, but the same remarks for 2 years in a row. Have my class sizes improved? Have we added staff? Do we have more courses to offer? No. What actually causes change? And you are not going to like my answer. The strike did. You might still bristle to hear that. It might feel uncomfortable. It should. That was the point. And it was the only way we were ever going to start to fix some injustices, like lifting our paras out of poverty wages and securing parental leave. Imagine those being the radical fights in Beverly, a city that thinks itself progressive. So ask me to help fix our reputation all you want, but I'm not the one who individually tarnished it. I'm just telling the truth. We're 346 out of 396 in class size, 311 for in-district spending per pupil. We pay teachers $4,000 less than the state average, and that's after we went on strike. Before it, we were $7,000 short. And if these numbers don't convince you, I'd like to tell you about my friends. Mr. Sutero went to Peabody. Mrs. McGinnity and Miss Woodbell went to Danvers. Mrs. Marhart, one of the best special educators to ever work in this district, went to Hamilton. And Miss Wilder, one of the best paraprofessionals ever, followed suit. I could go on, but this year so far, 16 Unit A and 14 Unit C have given their notice. There may be more to come. Another 14 are retiring. I'll wrap up. 45 new people to hire and train? How deep do we think the bench is? You've heard the truth. Staff are leaving. Students and families are leaving. Trust is broken. We cannot pretend it is better than it is. We want you to acknowledge the truth and agree to fix it. We can no longer band-aid big problems. We're human beings, not magicians, and we've told you our story too many times. I don't need a lecture about saving face and image. I need a budget that matches our needs and a leadership that will fight to make it a reality. Historic funding? Not even close to bringing us up for air when the city has historically merged and consolidated schools, cut programs, and blamed teachers for the obvious results of the slash and burn. That's not funding, that's damage control, and we're still suffocating. Find the money, and then find it again next year, and for years to come, or Beverly's going to find itself 396 out of 396, and there's no PR firm that can help with stats like those. Thank you.
Thank you again to everybody who came and spoke. I have, yes, Caleb, you are always welcome. And before I need to know, does anybody else who's not signed up want to go to the podium? Because then I'm going to have to recess again. Okay? Okay.
Sorry for messing up everything. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but
Caleb,
my name's Caleb McCauley. I live at 3 Henderson Avenue. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but sitting here has just felt like deja vu. We were here over 2 years ago. I was a very vocal person then. I spent a lot of time and energy. I would bike with my kids along all the picket lines. I would be blowing a conch shell. I didn't do that because I wanted to. I did it because I was going insane. What is really troubling is when the strike ended, I had hope. I then again had hope when we got a new superintendent. I stand here today feeling very hopeless, not because I do not believe in new leadership, but that I do not believe in leadership that is still here. I think there are failures that we need to address. It is an uncomfortable truth that most people don't want to talk about, but we're past that point. How is a city next to us, like Salem, able to spend thousands more per pupil and pass a Prop 2.5 for a new high school? How is that possible? How is Beverly failing our students? My daughter was failed. She is now we're just finding out in the end of 6th grade that she probably needs a 504, might need an IEP in some way. She was not properly tested. Child Find did not properly work for her, and it is just enraging because I focus so much on my son on an IEP that I feel like I failed my daughter too because the school did not see it, I did not see it, and we're just finding it now. And she is at a disservice for that. And I'm very angry that we are saying the same things over and over. I do not feel like most of this is going to make any difference other than make people feel one way or another. And I'm hoping, deeply hoping, that you guys take an opportunity, you regroup, and then you resubmit to the city council, who a lot are here, and I think they are willing to listen. I've heard from some have even reached out to me to talk in the next week together because they want to find solutions too. So I didn't have prepared remarks. I'm just speaking on the cuff that I believe that we can make a change, but we have to make a serious one. We cannot do these fake little things here and there. Thank you very much.
Can you hold 1 minute? All right, I'm gonna pull us back into session. All right, I'm sorry. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, my name is Meredith Gates, 18 Giles Ave. Just speaking about the importance of Rachel Blindman and the Beacon program. My son, halfway through his freshman year, experienced a very traumatic injury. He was out of school, recuperating at home, wasn't able to make it back to school pretty much for the rest of that year. He's been struggling, recuperating from that injury for the remainder of his high school career up to this point. And Rachel has done a wonderful job keeping him in the school, keeping him engaged, keeping him where he needs to be. When he's having a rough day, stressed, he goes to see Rachel. And he'll stay there for the day. She sits there with him and helps him through the day. And the Beacon program has been a tremendous benefit to him, and I'm sure it's been a tremendous benefit to other students that he is in class with. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew about the benefit of Rachel and the Beacon program. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. I'm Denise Leiden again, 701 Beacon, 701, I don't know where I live. Broughton Drive here in Beverly. I am one of 2 middle school reading specialists here in our school. I'm 7th and 8th grade. And, you know, several people have spoken this evening regarding marginalized students and students who didn't get an intervention when they needed it. And I'm sorry to this mom right here. I've been in this district, this is my 19th year. Next year is my last. I've been teaching 31 years. I have a hard time understanding why reading is not important to this district. Why are we so undervalued? We are probably one of the most talented and skilled people that you have in this district that can do a job that is so specific to help children like this woman's daughter right here. So I know how this happened, and I can tell you specifically. It's due to the understaffing of this reading department. 10 years ago, when we were in Briscoe, there were 4 of us. Earlier than that, there were 6 of us. And the first year, there were 8 of us. Okay, that was way back in 2007. So we moved to BMS. I was the sole survivor, 1,500 students, and myself. Yeah, yep, for a year. And they're like, oh, we need another one. So they added another teacher. And that went on until about COVID. And we came back in 2021. They added 2 teachers, but they forgot to hire one. That first day back with 4 reading classes and 4 reading scheduled classes of teachers, but only 3 of us. I covered the missing teacher until we could find one who I pulled out of retirement to come help. And then from there, we were doing pretty well. We had a fully functioning reading program for 2 years. We all had a grade. It was wonderful. Those kids were getting something. The teachers were getting help. We were all over the place. Everybody had a grade. I only had to look at 300 8th graders. And then we cut it back to 2. So for the last 2 years, and you guys have heard me, I've spoken about this twice now. We've cut it back to 2. So last year I had 7th and 8th graders, and I was sitting in a fishbowl room in the 3rd floor cafeteria service line, try teaching kids who can't read next to the cafeteria. They moved me nicely this year up to the back hallway, but it got worse. They asked us, that's the other reading teacher and myself, they service, I say they because they're a job share. They service the 5th and 6th grade, I service the 7th and 8th grade. But now I'm also spending 250 minutes a week, 250 very valuable minutes a week, teaching kids in a GA class. This is not a reading class. It's called Reading Lab. It's not a reading class. It is a class that is holding space for students because there's no place for them to go for a GA. And I had to whip this up out of nowhere, okay? Because they asked me to do this just a couple days before school got out in June. Oh, by the way, move your room too, for the 3rd year in a row. I've been teaching 31 years. It's a lot of stuff, a lot to move, and a lot to worry about with these kids. So here's what happened. I'm not teaching RISE. I'm not available for RISE. The I in RISE is intervention. I'm not there because I'm teaching kids who don't need intervention. I'm getting email from my students, Mrs. Leiden, can you come to my ELA class? I need help. Mrs. Leiden, are you available so I can get help? Mrs. Leiden, are you coming to my class today? I'm failing. And I'm sorry, because I take it personally. And I'm sorry to my colleagues because I wasn't there for you this year. I was excited for 10 seconds when I thought we were adding another reading specialist to our school. And poof, disappeared. Yeah, we need people. And we are struggling, but our students are struggling even worse. I'm an adult, I can handle it, but I really hate to see kids struggle. And I'm sorry, I wasn't gonna get upset, but hey, it's been a long day. Thank you.
Okay, so last call. All right, I'm looking quickly around the room. I'm going to put us back into our regular meeting. I'm going to adjourn the public hearing in a minute. After I finish, I'm going to put us into... Okay, I need a motion. Hold on, please. Don't come to the podium yet. Let's go to 8:15 so we can give time for people to leave. All right, I'm pulling us back in. Hold on one second. I'm pulling us back in. I'm going to make a motion that we recess until 8:15, our regular school committee meeting. Would you like to second that?
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Please go.
Hi, I'm Heidi Bissell, Ashton Street in Beverly. I'm a retired para. I worked for over 27 years and love my job so much that I'm back substituting because there's such a shortage. And I didn't obviously plan on speaking, but listening to everybody, please know that they are drowning. They are drowning, and I know that you're elected officials from each district. I'm sorry I don't know everybody, but I would really hope that you listen to your constituents and listen to what's being said. And then if you don't have the ability to add this money, you need to look forward. You need to look above. Stand up for what these teachers need. And if the budget, if they say we don't have any money, just say, well, we need to find it. Go to the mayor, the city council, and fight. Fight for these people. Fight for the children. It's the children. And because there is money, do we really need a $30 million new city hall? I don't think so right now. Did we really need 7 electric buses that sit in a parking lot untouched because we can't use the fuel, we have no electricity for them, and no people to maintain them? So it sounds good. All these things sound bright and shiny, but who's going to bright and shiny the city? People, we were on TV as the up-and-coming city. Well, if people are watching now, the school system is where it's at. And these teachers are fighting till they have no more. You heard all the people that are leaving. It's sad. It's so sad. And I hope you all take it to heart. And if you can't get it from our head here at City Council, then we need to move up the ladder. Because there's money, and there's waste, and there's the Briscoe School that we could have gotten millions more and we didn't. There's just things that are, we just can't say, we don't have the money, okay. We just can't do that. Put on the big people's pants and fight for this school system. I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but it's all from the heart. But it isn't if you listen. Everybody needs your help. Everybody needs the school committee, the city council's help. And that's it.
Third or fourth time's a charm. I'm just going to say, I'm going to read into the record, we have received several emails. At least one of these emails went to the entire committee. Committee members, I will forward the other two emails that went to resident voice that I am not going to read in the record. They very much cover the same things that have already been discussed here this evening. But for the record, one is from Jackie Grenfield, maybe. One is from Sarah Slagsfall, and I thank her because she gave me a little note. She said it rhymes with flagpole. Very nice. And one from Matt Ferrara. At this point in time, the public hearing, I'm going to close the public hearing, and school committee members, we have a 5-minute recess until our other meeting is going to start. already read the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, I do have a report from all right, recognition. We have no recognitions. We have no meeting minutes in front of us, I don't believe, this evening. People, I'm going to try to fly through an abbreviated, based on how long the public hearing took, I'm going to try to fly through an abbreviated agenda, skipping where we can. I have a report from Miss Delia, our student rep. Basically, spring sports are at their end. The musical's coming up Tuesday, May 19th at 6:30. Junior prom was last week. Senior prom will be June 4th at Willowdale. Seniors are working on their REACH internships, and next week will be the last week. And they'll be presenting on May 29th. That's always a great thing to see if you can get over here, over in the gym. And scholarship night for invited seniors is June 3rd. And Delia, thanks for sending that list of updates, and I appreciate the fact that you didn't want to sit here and wait to be called this evening, so we gave her that option. Next item, items by consensus. The motion is to approve the items by consensus as outlined below. We have 5 warrants. They're in your packets. Do I have a motion? So moved. Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Was that Ms. Lindsay? Thank you. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes 9-0. Ms. Quill, earlier I said the votes passed 9-0, but they were actually 8-0 because Ms. Cahill wasn't here. Ms. Cahill is here now. That vote passes 9-0. Underneath the superintendent's report, although I'm not the superintendent, we have an item on the agenda about whether to vote on the budget or not. And as we often do, we kind of put it on this particular budget, on this particular agenda rather, to say, kind of hold a space. There was a time when we only had one person come to the podium that evening, and we did in fact vote that evening. So what our agenda actually says is schedule/approve the budget. I've asked all of you to hold next Wednesday night, May 20th, and so my suggestion is that we not vote on the budget this evening. We take that week, we have additional conversations, and we schedule a meeting for next Wednesday night, May 20th. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Madam President, I'm ready to make a motion. I want to ask whether people would be good with a 7 p.m. start, unless we do have a subcommittee meeting prior to.
We have a need for a 7:30 start. We have a committee member with a conflict.
We'll stay with it. So I make the motion that we schedule a meeting next Wednesday evening at 7:30 p.m. for the purpose of deliberating and voting on the proposed school budget.
Second.
Wednesday, the 20th. Ms. Ducharme, was that you with the second?
Yes, Madam President.
The acoustics in here are a little different. It's a little harder to hear people's voices. But your hand, okay, so now that motion's, we're open for comments, and your hand was up.
I was going to make the motion for the May 20th.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Yes, Ms. Coelho.
I cannot be in attendance that day because I do have inventory at my prior job, but I do have a proposal that I wanted to bring forward for the budget.
Meaning that when we're in budget discussions next Wednesday night, you want to make an amendment to the budget?
Yes.
You're going to want to make an amendment, but you're not going to be there?
Yes.
Can you dial in?
Possibly.
All right, we can talk about that offline, all right? How we can make that happen. Any other comments, questions? All right, there's a motion on the table to schedule the vote for next Wednesday night, May 20th, starting at 7:30 p.m. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes 9-0. I'm going to jump through. We're not going to do our committee reports. We're just going to take the votes that we need to take out of those subcommittees. Making a motion that we accept gifts to schools for the month of March. That number is in your packet. Miss Emma, are you close to me? Do I need to know a number to make the motion? All right, I'm going to hold that one. I'm gonna need the grant number as well. We're gonna go to student activity accounts. There's a new student activity, the Beverly High School Democrats. I would looking for a motion to accept a new student activity account for Beverly High School's Democrats. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Questions, comments, discussion at all? All those in favor? Any opposed? Passes 9-0. Motion to accept budget transfer number 1162. That is definitely in your packet. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second on the mayor, thank you. Comments, questions on budget transfer 1162? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That passes 9-0. You guys have some policies for a first read. I'll just say that we have ongoing Ask Me negotiations. Miss Emma, do you have our numbers ready? Thank you for saving me. I feel like Shrek. Anybody who knows that movie, you can know the line that I'm talking about. All right, gifts to schools. Motion to accept gift to schools from March 2026 in the amount of $10,622.05 with gratitude. Can I have a second on that motion? Was that you, Mr. Taylor?
That would be Mr. Taylor.
Fantastic. And then, any comments or questions on these gifts to schools? All right, I see none. All those in favor of accepting with gratitude? Any opposed? That passes 9-0. The motion for grants is that we accept in the amount of $3,150. That's my motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Coelho, I heard you first. You're sitting closest. That's how sound travels. Little science lesson. Any questions on the grant acceptance? All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes 9-0. Our next meeting is Wednesday night, 1 week from tonight, 7:30 start, where we will discuss the budget and vote on the budget. And I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Honestly?
You don't have to deal with these. Do you want to do the meeting and vote? Did you skip that intentionally?
We only have a first reading. First read. Oh, norms and protocols.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, okay,
And
okay,
quality, yeah.
okay,
We gotta
yes.
talk about the budget.
At next Wednesday's meeting?
Oh, so communication from school committee members is a...
We can, okay, so I guess here's what I thought, is that, this meeting was supposed to start at 7:30, and, we can start that conversation. I mean, we can also do norms and protocols. Kind of felt like because I put an extra, I didn't put, but I suggested we put an extra meeting on our schedule next Wednesday night. I thought the totality of the budget would be discussed. All of our discussions would be in that meeting on the budget. And I was just trying to get us out of here this evening because we've already been here since 6 o'clock, but we can stay.
I feel like it would be in our best interest to talk about the budget tonight. Like, I don't know what my colleagues think, but...
All right. Yes, Mr. Randall.
There is no agenda item to cover talking about the budget. Is there?
It is item number 6 under the superintendent's report for schedule/approve the budget. In order to approve the budget, we would, I think it's reasonable to think that we would discuss it. However,
We've already scheduled to deliberate and vote next week. I heard Ms. Robinson suggest the communications from school committee members as an avenue for her to share some thinking. Maybe we just move through and get to that.
Okay,
And
and I
maybe
did miss, I apologize profusely, I did miss the norms and protocols, and especially because it is marked as a voting item. We should talk about that, and then absolutely, we can do communications.
May I make a motion?
Will that work for you?
So we can talk about our views on the budget tonight.
You can, I think that the point of scheduling next Wednesday's meeting was so that we would have a meeting dedicated to discussing the budget, making amendments, doing whatever we want to do relative to the budget. So,
I'd like to I'd like to amend the amendment. I'm probably not saying that properly, but I'd like to make a motion that we discuss the budget tonight under, maybe not under school, like, communication from school to school committee, but maybe under 6A, schedule approval of the budget. I'd like to go back to that. So, I second that.
all right, Robert's rules, where are we? Who's helping me on this one?
What was the?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure everybody heard what Ms. Robinson said.
She wants
didn't hear
to,
clearly.
she didn't use the word reconsider, but she wants to reconsider 6A, that instead of voting next Wednesday night, she wants to begin the discussion this evening.
Correct.
Well,
Yes,
so
Mr. Mayor?
we have scheduled to deliberate and vote next week. It doesn't preclude a discussion now. And that's what Ms. Robinson's asking for,
Yes.
so go ahead, I guess. I mean, what do other people think?
That's what I wanted to know, what other people thought.
All right, I saw Mr. Taylor's hand, and then I'll come back to you, Ms. Lennox.
Do we want to dispense with some of these other policies?
I was already dispensing with those. I already dispensed with them. I
Oh,
already
you
blew
dispensed.
through the agenda and said, I'm going to go through an abbreviated agenda. We're only going to talk about the things that we have to vote on.
Okay.
So you maybe missed me saying that on my highly caffeinated self.
Norms and protocols seems to be something like.
I did miss norms and protocols. I went too fast for my own good.
Okay.
So norms and protocols is number 7, and what Ms. Robinson wants to discuss is number 6. So we're gonna moonwalk our butts back to number 6. Yes, Ms. Frost, you look concerned.
I can't hear.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
That's why I'm concerned. So, I'm not yelling because I'm yelling, but I just want to be heard. And I don't know, I can't hear, and I'm interested. in
You
what
can't
say.
hear when we're talking right now, like right now.
I can hear you.
Okay,
I cannot hear down there.
I didn't have a microphone before, so that's probably why you couldn't hear me. But now I have a microphone.
can you hear if she uses the microphone?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we have 2 items to discuss this evening. The first one is 6A, the budget, and the second one will be our norms and protocols. If that is the will of the body, we can absolutely stay here this evening and do that. I'm looking up and down the table. Yes, Ms. Ducharme,
Well, I think it's.
can you use the microphone?
I think it's incredibly important to have a conversation, as much conversation as possible. My concern about discussing it tonight is I'm not really sure that it was clear to the public that we were gonna be discussing it tonight. I heard a member of the BTA come up and ask some questions about what our intent was tonight. And so I'm just using that as a signal for maybe there was some confusion around what the intent is. So it's not because I don't support the need to have the conversation or the desire to use some of the time tonight. I'm just concerned that maybe it wasn't clear to the public. And so my proposal is we hold and do that on the 20th, but not because I don't understand or respect where the suggestion is coming from.
I think we can have a discussion and not make any motions and not do any voting. I think we could start the conversation. I appreciate that, I do. I think that the good news is we are being covered by our good friends at BevCam, and so any discussion that we have is going to be captured, is being captured. Yes, Mr. Taylor.
So I suggest we proverbially split the baby, and we do have our meeting next Wednesday, which we were planning on, and
right, does anybody want to second Mr. Taylor's motion? Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Might I suggest that we begin this conversation? I am of a mind that Mr. Taylor is, that there's a point fairly soon when I would be moved to move adjournment. And it may not be quite as soon as you are, but it's soon. So maybe we just get started. Thanks.
Okay, so, Mr. Taylor, I didn't hear a second for your motion. Ms. Robinson, Okay.
Sure, go, yeah, sorry.
So the motion is that we begin conversation this evening, and we limit it to 15 minutes.
Can we discuss that? Because I'd say till 9, like a half an hour makes.
You'd like to amend the motion, instead of 15 minutes, you want to amend it to 9 o'clock. We stop discussing the budget this evening at 9 p.m.
Can so I don't want to be seen as stifling discussion, because any discussion is going to help work that might need to be done. However, having just attended an open meeting law training where it is not posted as such, I just want to offer my Nubian advice to the body that it might be an unwise violation of open meeting law under that.
With all due respect, Mr.
But I'm not a lawyer.
Dr. Cushing, the budget does have very clearly schedule/approval of the budget with an asterisk next to it. I think a reasonable person would expect us to discuss before we took that particular vote. So I'm not opposed to us starting the discussion this evening. I'm not opposed to us trying to limit it. So there's a motion on the table to limit it to 15 minutes.
I move the question.
There's an amendment to lengthen the time until 9 o'clock. Is there a second to the 9 o'clock?
Second.
I have to take the amendment first or the motion first? I have to take the amendment first. Here we go. All those in favor of limiting conversation until 9, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? Should give me 4. I only have. It's your amendment.
I know it was, I should have, but
Okay.
I'd be okay going later, but people seemed, so that was so.
Can I add something to that in conversation?
So that amendment passes.
Okay.
5-2, and I'm not sure who didn't vote, but that's all right. And now we're going back to the original motion, which is that we discuss the budget this evening. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes 9-0. We are discussing the budget this evening. Who else wanted to ask a question? This setup is really less than ideal. All right. We are open for discussion on the budget.
Catherine has one.
Well, long-time listener, first-time caller.
That's awesome.
So I am going to honestly ask for the committee's support in telling me if I'm doing something, like somebody can just tap me if I'm doing the wrong thing. Thinking about fiscal year 2027, it's proving to be financially devastating for communities across our Commonwealth. We continue to grapple here in Massachusetts with needed improvements to our Chapter 70 funding formula, while school districts are simultaneously facing rising fuel, energy costs, insurance increases, technology expenses. I saw up to 20% inflation in some tech fields, growing personnel costs. Like families across our communities, our schools are experiencing rapidly increasing expenses while student needs continue to grow exponentially. I'd like to take a moment to express gratitude to Dr. Cushing and his team, who have worked tirelessly to provide our committee, our entire community, with 3 budgets each one highlighting what our administrative teams believe to be what they feel they need to our community, to provide our community with an educational experience. So I am deeply grateful not only to our administrative team, but every single person who's taken time out of their day to stop me at Market Basket, to call me on the phone, to text me, to email me, to yell on the streets. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and concerns about our public schools, because there are many. I also think about, as a brand new member of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and they delineate what my role should be. They say that school committees must be responsive to its constituencies, and our constituents can't vote for us yet, our students. And we must be a vigorous ambassador for public education before all citizens. I compare this imperative to the makeup of our student body in Beverly, with almost 45% of our children being classified as high needs by DESE. And then we look at present accountability numbers, and I am not the human that believes that MCAS is the end-all be-all, but those are the numbers that I see in front of me. It's not without gratitude. I can't support the budget that was presented this evening. As a new school committee member, I plan to vote as your neighbor, a parent, and an educator of more than 20 years. I can't and I will not pretend to know what the perfect solution to our current situation is. But I can say that the lack, or I will say the lack of critical services, critical needs in this presented budget would negatively impact our students. When I compound this with our current shortages, I feel like the lack of meeting our critical needs would sadly push our students down a little bit more. This is a beautiful community full of talented educators, administrators, very caring families, and exceptional learners. I know that as we move through this budget season, we will listen to each other, find common ground so that we can responsibly support our students' current financial needs. So thank you for letting me speak.
That was beautiful, and there was nothing wrong with it. All right. Mr. Robinson, is your hand up?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so over the last several months, I've heard from a lot of frustrated constituents, educators, parents, support staff, and teachers across Beverly, and retired teachers as well. There seems to be a growing feeling that what is being said publicly about our schools is becoming disconnected from what people are actually seeing and experiencing in them every day. So, at a recent school committee meeting, we heard that all Beverly Public School positions are student-facing positions. Also recently, a Beverly teacher wrote to us and referenced Animal Farm, pointing out that while all positions may technically be student-facing, some are obviously far more student-facing than others. And honestly, the Orwell reference stuck with me because in Animal Farm, the issue was not that the slogans were completely false. It was that the language slowly became detached from reality while people were still expected to accept it without question. And this is where I think many people are right now. Because while every role in a district may impact students in some way, it's simply not the same as the adults directly working with children all day long in classrooms. Students experience teachers every minute of the day. They experience paraprofessionals, counselors, interventionists, special ed staff, and reading specialists. They experience class size. They experience whether there's enough time for individual attention. They experience whether behavioral issues are manageable in the classroom. They experience whether services are actually being delivered the way they are supposed to be delivered. And right now, the people closest to students are telling us that the system is stretched too thin. We heard all of it tonight. And at the same time that we're discussing cutting teachers and increasing class sizes, not one administrative position is being reduced. How can we honestly guarantee families tonight that we're not heading toward elementary classrooms with 25 or 26 students in them? Because once you're inside schools every day, you know exactly what that looks like. It looks like a quiet first grader who gets overlooked because the teacher is spending most of the day managing the same disruptive behaviors over and over again. It looks like less small group instruction, less individualized feedback, and less time to support struggling learners before they fall behind. Meanwhile, families are telling us that their children are not getting the support and services that they need. Educators are telling us that they're overwhelmed trying to hold things together. Parents are beginning to openly question whether the district can continue meeting their children's needs. And increasingly, people are losing trust because they are hearing polished statements about systems and supports while watching something very different happen in practice. Again, this is where the Orwell reference matters. When language becomes too generalized or too carefully managed, people stop trusting what they are hearing, not necessarily because anyone is intentionally lying, but because too much important information is being omitted. At our last school committee meeting, our superintendent passionately defended the curriculum director and administrative positions. Unfortunately, there was not a whole lot of actual data presented to back up many of those claims, and I think that's why so many people, myself included, are still left unclear about what those roles actually look like in practice every day. We're told curriculum directors are modeling lessons, supporting teachers, and ensuring consistency across classrooms. Okay, then where is that happening consistently? How often are curriculum directors in classrooms? How many classrooms are truly teaching the same content at the same pace? What measurable impact are we seeing? Who is directly supporting curriculum implementation day to day? These are not unreasonable questions. And lest I get misquoted, this is not me saying that we do not want curriculum directors or instructional leaders. Of course we do. But if we are preserving those positions while reducing classroom staff, then the work connected to those positions should be visible, measurable, and clearly impacting students and teachers every day. These are the kind of realities that people are talking about when they say there's a disconnect. I've also heard repeated concerns about special education compliance because of a lack of space. Students whose IEPs require quiet, distraction-free settings for foundational skill work are often receiving services in hallways, shared spaces, or rooms with constant interruptions because there's simply not enough appropriate space available anymore. We're creating situations where educators are trying to meet legal obligations without the staffing or physical space necessary to do it properly. Again, there's a difference between saying services are being delivered and honestly looking at how they're actually being delivered. At some point, we have to stop convincing ourselves that because something sounds good on paper, it works well in practice. As a school committee member, a parent, and an educator, for almost 3 decades, and as a proud, lifelong Beverly resident, I cannot support a budget that continues asking classrooms to absorb more while avoiding harder conversations about priorities. Because when the people closest to children keep telling us the same thing over and over again, we eventually have a responsibility to stop softening the language around it and start listening. Thank you.
I'm looking around the table. Is there anybody else who's prepared to make a statement or wants to speak this evening? Yes, Mr. Taylor. I'm not sure you need the mic.
Thank you. Well, I do want to make sure our community bears in mind what a great job Beverly Public Schools do. There are a number of limitations, holes, and as Mr. Melanson identified, the cheese is stretched at this point with our budget, and we need to be honest about that situation. We also need to be honest about just how fantastic Beverly is and what a shining star on the North Shore our education system is. For instance, I'll give you 4 specific examples, and I'll be quick and to the point. Marblehead this year is operating on a reduced level services budget. A reduced services budget. You want to send your kids there? Go for it. If just 351 Hamilton voters had slept in on the day on which a 2.5 vote was taken, there would be no operating schools or very, very poor operating schools in Hamilton. In Topsfield the other day, all kinds of 2.5 overrides went down. And their education system is going to be very poor. Malden may cut up to 60 educator positions. In South Hadley, their override did not pass, it failed, and they will be cutting athletics and a number of other positions. I think Beverly is very well positioned as to what we offer our graduates and our kids. We definitely have some holes that we need to fill, but I want to remind our community what we give and the value that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. I am leaning backwards to look up and down the table to see if there's anybody else. Yes, Ms. Cahill.
I have to say that I agree that Beverly's a wonderful community, and I think that we have some great schools and we have some great programs. I don't think that we should compare ourselves with other communities that are deficient and say, well, we're better than, our deficiencies aren't as great as theirs. We have some serious issues in town. Right? We're talking about some cuts to programs. We're talking about losing student-facing staff. As a parent of I've had over 400 kids go through the Beverly school system. And the reality of that is that I have seen kids graduate from high school that can't read or write. I've seen kids who can't do math, can't do simple multiplication or division. I've seen kids that have been pushed through because there's no other choice and no other programs for them. I've seen IEPs that have been basically non-compliant. And so, when we say this is a great school system, we have the potential for being a wonderful school system, and we have been, and I'm sure that we can be again, but I think that we have to maintain the fact that we can't keep on saying we're better than the worst, or we're better than the next town that's not doing their job. We have to be better than the people, or at least as good as the school systems that are offering their students everything. And I think, comparing us to somebody who's not doing well is an injustice to what we currently are doing, and an injustice to what we should be aiming to do for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cahill. I'm looking up and down the table. All right, so that's well before 9 o'clock. Thank you. We do have another item on our agenda. Well, first thing I'll just reiterate, we will have much more discussion. We can have as much discussion as we want. Next Wednesday night, May 20th, 7:30 p.m. start time. We will be back in the middle school at our normal place. Hopefully our friends from BevCam will be much happier with us. It's a lot easier to broadcast out of the middle school than it is out of the high school. So, and we'll continue the budget discussion and then plan on voting on the budget next Wednesday night, the 20th. Also this evening, before we adjourn, we have on our agenda our norms, our long-awaited norms and protocols. That is in your packet. I believe that we finally have the language in it that Mr. Mayor has requested. I love it. It's underlined. It's underlined on his copy. I'm looking for a motion that we, this body, agree to and sign on to our norms and protocols. A question first. Can we have a motion before we discuss?
Oh, sure. Motion to approve norms and protocols as currently drafted.
Could I say something? We don't always need to start a discussion with a motion. Mr. Taylor's question pertains to him wondering whether we should be moving forward tonight. So I thought maybe first he asked the question.
Moving forward, sure. Moving forward with what?
So I just wanted to know if Ms. Ducharme's language was in here, and, because I don't think it is. And if it isn't, whether we should just push this back to policy. She had language around computer use, something to that effect. Is that correct, Lindsay?
That's correct.
Is that language in there that you see?
It is not.
With that, I make a motion to push it back to policy.
Table. There's a motion on the table to table this yet another week.
Second.
Who did that? Who said second? Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Who made the motion? Mr. Taylor, right? Thank you. All those in favor? Ms. Cahill, is your hand up?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. That passes 9-0. Motion to adjourn.
Second, third, fourth, fifth.
Everybody's fighting over that one. All those in favor? Any opposed? Passes 9-0. It is 8:54. And we are adjourned.